No, I told you, we're not going to have my music included in this video. Excuse me, I was talking to my camera person. I'm going to have to, give him a few instructions after this. Because I specifically instructed that camera person, yes, you, not to include my music. This is not a promo for my new EP called The Night When Life Goes Boo. This is supposed to be a lecture, so turn that music off. Right now, I want to do a lecture. Yes, I'll call it, I'm going to call it, the lecture should be called actually The Night When Life Goes Boo, because it's about fear. In fact, I'll subtitle it InterFEARance, because this is the way, or these are the ways that fear can interfere with your cognitive functioning. Now, you could apply this to Halloween or another spooky event, the final exam. It could also be applied to more detrimental situations, such as, let's say that you are a person that finds yourself in an abusive relationship. For example, you could be the victim of child abuse, domestic violence. You could be the victim of administrative bullying, in which your administrator at work is belittling you, threatening you with punishment, intimidating you, humiliating you, and diminishing you as a person. So many different ways that fear can come at you from without or from within, and it can interfere with your cognitive functions in various areas. So you want to make sure that you can reduce the fear so that you can make the best of the internal resources that you have to offer. Let's go back to our example of the final exam. You're going to be able to do well if you can stay calm, but if you don't stay calm, it will interfere with your sensory and perceptual abilities. Perception will be impacted in this way. For example, you'll walk into the room and immediately, even though your fellow students could be perfectly calm, you see fear on their faces, and that impacts you and your ability to exercise important cognitive operations. So sensory and perception. Then we have memory and retrieval. You're going to need to go back and reflect upon lectures, discussions, and class activities. In order to do well on these questions, you're going to need to retrieve important information from the past. You're going to be able to identify words in memory. You're going to be able to retrieve word memory and meanings that we've associated. You're going to need to also involve comprehension. If you look at a question, you read it, and all you see are printed words, printed sentences, and you're not able to make the important associations or the semantic connections, then you're not going to be able to comprehend anything you're reading. It's just going to be words to you. You will not be able to evaluate sentences in order to apply meaning to them or to consider meaningful alternatives between choices A, B, C, D, etc. Furthermore, judgment and decision-making will be impaired. You'll walk into this examination room, you'll look at the material, and you'll start to panic, and you'll say, oh no, I'm going to have to leave. I can't do this. And so you'll rob yourself of the opportunity of at least getting some of the questions right, and that has to do with your decision-making abilities being impaired and your judgment being impaired. So, judgment, decision-making, comprehension, memory and retrieval, and sensory and perceptual operations will be impaired because fear interferes with these cognitive operations. Also, your computational skills will be impaired. Doing well on an exam requires you to retrieve facts. It requires also a procedural knowledge. You approach the exam with a certain procedure in mind. This is step 1, this is step 2. I'm going to read and carefully absorb the material, then I'm going to try to weigh alternative answers and make the correct choices. So computation will be impaired, your ability to form meaningful relationships between content, and movies that we've seen to bring content alive. And so movies like Charlie will be very faded. Memories of seeing the movie You're Gonna Forget Me When I'm Gone, the documentary on Rocky Erickson, will just be a blur to you. You won't be able to think about the movie Ordinary People and how Conrad displayed certain cognitive phenomena. And so you'll be able to do nothing effectively. And it's because of fear. And all you have to fear is fear itself. If you simply are able to engage in self-talk that brings down any kind of exaggerations in perception, and you're able to alter your self-talk and calm yourself down, you will do well in this final exam. Similarly, in situations where you will be made to feel afraid, such as playground bullying, administrative bullying, in which those things I mentioned, the administration is trying to intimidate you. They want you to be afraid. They want you to feel small. Or in situations of domestic violence or child abuse, you're going to need to, once again, draw up these cognitive resources and skills so that you'll be able to come up with the most effective counterpunches. I'm talking intellectual cognitive counterpunches. So you'll need to be resilient. You'll need to be resilient in these situations, whether it's an exam or some other arena in which you will feel threatened. So I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you remember that whether the night is Halloween, in which we're playfully interacting with this idea of fear, or whether it's a real situation that could bring on fear, be prepared. Have full access to your resources. And if you run out of resources, go to your external resources, friends, family. That's what they're there for. Do not fear. The Bible says, fear not, for I am with you always, even until the end of time. I'm Dr. BLT. Thank you for listening to my lecture.